So a lot of heavy hearts go out, especially in the Major League Baseball circuit, for the loss of a guy like Don Larson, who'd done so much for Major League Baseball, and of course in postseason history being one of two guys who ever threw a perfect game. But Don Larson will definitely be missed. And of course, when you talk about the game, and I don't mean just the game of baseball or the game of football, but I think more globally speaking, a person comes to mind who certainly set the trend for things like the NBA TV, for NBA marketing worldwide, for creating the NBA app, and really putting so much. And we're talking about David Stern, who had a hemorrhagic stroke, also June 1st, 2020. And he had done so much, so many people reaching out to him. I even mentioned on Twitter that he was one of those guys who just did so much for the league for so many years. I mean, 30 years is a long time to be one serious mastermind behind an organization that was almost on the brink of falling apart. If it wasn't for David Stern, the NBA would not be who it is today, what it is today, how it continues to be a global phenomenon, as it were, regardless of the media, jokes and, who said what, when, how, and why, and how is it like this, and how is it like that. Look, David Stern did it for everyone. As a matter of fact, Roger Goodell, who had sent an actual message to the NBA via Twitter, of course he probably sent that directly to the NBA offices, that he was giving his sincere condolences to Adam Silver, his family, his wife, and of course what he meant to him, meeting him as a very young commissioner, and Roger Goodell starting out in the NFL. Michael Jordan went on to say that without David Stern, the NBA would not be what it is today. He guided the league through turbulent times and grew the league into an international phenomenon, creating opportunities that few have imagined before. And sadly enough, he had a brain hemorrhage on December 12th, underwent emergency surgery, and his wife and the family, including just pain, essentially, when you go into a hemorrhage effect while on the bed. What do you know about David Stern to the effect of watching him grow and kind of help navigating this NBA system to what it is today?
Well, the NBA was broke when he got involved. Okay, tape delay. I remember many years ago when I was working in a restaurant on a Friday night, and I would see the NBA playoffs on TV at 11:30. So to tell you that Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were single-handedly the ones that turned the league down, and then David Stern's vision, that's exactly what I think of him. You talk about what he did for international play. The Dream Team is a product of what David Stern's vision is about. Being able to get those big contracts, being able to stand up to the Players Association and let them know that I'm willing to sacrifice the season, but we're not going to break our back over this sport because you're getting too greedy. And I think he would frown upon load management. But he was a guy that ruled with an iron fist. Mark Cuban knows it. How many fines did he pay because David Stern levied him out? David Stern was a no-nonsense individual that inherited a league that was practically bankrupt and turned it into the billion-dollar business that it is.
Well, a lot of things David Stern, I mean, this league now makes $5 billion a year. $5 billion. And I don't even know what encompasses that in the $5 billion. I wouldn't mind having $5 billion myself. But when he resigned, February 1st, 84, when he became commissioner there, he left a position in 2014. He wouldn't tell them he was going to retire. He just left. He's like, I'm done. I did what I had to do. He did what he needed to do. He did what he had to do. What he knew would be good for the NBA was good for everyone. He created a global branding and one of the greatest commissioners to have ever commissioned a sporting organization, and the NBA is no exception to that rule. So my condolences to Mr. Stern, his family, of course to the NBA, who will basically miss everything that he meant to the game of basketball. And then this is kind of interesting, and this kind of came across to me. I'm thinking to myself, Sam Wyche. Now, when I think of Wyche, I think of a different Wyche, but I think more importantly, Sam Wyche, former NFL coach, who is basically the curator of what the no-huddle offense meant to the NFL. And of course, Cincinnati Bengals were very close to winning the Super Bowl in the late 80s. He passed away this past Thursday. And he had served as coach for a couple of teams, 84 to 91, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 92 to 95. And he had a pretty decent regular season, probably not the best, but 84 to 107. But then one of the most successful coaches when his Bengals went 12-4, made it to the Super Bowl, but lost to Joe Montana. What are your thoughts about Sam Wyche's disappearance, and what long-lasting effects will this have on not just the Bengals organization, but the NFL?
Well, what's unfortunate about his passing is he died 3 days before his 75th birthday. Liver cancer, we talked about that before. That's too bad. I mean, Sam Wyche had heart issues, but he was a very innovative offensive mind. And, he was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Cincinnati Bengals, where he did his better work up at Ohio. But, when you have these good offensive minds, Rudy, like you have them, they are the ones that laid out the groundwork for what a lot of what's going on. So, he'll definitely be missed, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's going to be missed by a lot of people. Brian Glazer, Buccaneers owner, he says Sam's innovative approach to offense left a lasting mark on the game of football. And as our head coach in the early 1990s, Sam was instrumental in drafting cornerstone players such as John Lynch, Derek Brooks, and Warren Sapp, who are all key components of that 2003 Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl championship team. I think, notedly for him, it's just kind of sad that all of these had to pass away before they were actually, David Stern was 77. But I think the most concerned one that I have, and my heart goes out to this young lady's family. She had served on ESPN as a sports reporter, born in Baton Rouge. She was only 30 years old, and sadly enough, passed away after an interview the day prior. And of course was supposed to be there with her dad, essentially, who's the defensive coordinator for the LSU Tigers, who are now headed to the championship game January 13th, I believe, against Clemson. It's just kind of sad to hear somebody so young at the age of 30, and so young. I mean, my son's almost 30, so it makes me feel kind of old. But she had a very aspiring career. She was very charismatic. She was well versed. She had a lot of passion for what she did, especially for sports journalism. Of course, she grew up in Baton Rouge. So in Baton Rouge, that's all you know is football. There's nothing else to know about it than just football. And I think that her passion carried her forward. And of course, everybody can aspire to this. Men alike in the sports journalism industry can also learn a lot from her and what she had meant, and watch her interviews and listen to the conversations with aforementioned players, and to be able to really dig deep into who you are in order to aspire what great reporter she was ascertaining to be at the age of 30 years old. And of course, it was a plane that crashed right outside of the Lafayette Regional Airport, right inside of the post office parking lot. So it's it really
tragic.
Yeah, it's very tragic, and the worst part about it is that it just goes to show that life is too short, and it doesn't matter what time of the year it is. It doesn't matter what you're trying to accomplish. It could be taken at a moment's notice, and to be aware that you got to live your life to the absolute fullest by giving back to other people as often and as frequently as possible.
No doubt about it. Let me make one footnote about Sam Wyche, if I may, okay? I remember when he made those comments towards Cleveland, how he took a shot at him in Cincinnati. I think a lot of people got a kick out of that too, except for the Cleveland Browns, who are always America's punching bag.
Yes, exactly. You're right. That's and I think they're always going to continue to be the punching bag. So as long as they're named the Browns, but outside of that, I think that we can look forward to another great football season, especially with a lot of the bowl games that are going on right now. As I'd mentioned, Clemson will take on LSU in the championship game January 13th. But there are lots of other showcases of talent. I had a chance and the pleasure to go to the NFLPA bowl game at Rose Bowl Stadium in Los Angeles. Of course, I'm a California native, as I had mentioned before, and being able to be at this showcase of talent. I mean, you have some of the best scouts and coaches in the industry who are doing nothing but helping these guys prepare for not only the professional side of sports, but the lifestyle and everything that encompasses what it takes to be that next athlete, that next player, that next person, not only to make that difference on the gridiron, but what difference will that roll over to in your local community and where your parents grew up, where you grew up. And to be able to highlight all these different things, to give you an idea as to some of the people that will actually be there. Diane Ganwoluku, who comes out of BYU, will be there. That's a player spotlight. He's a defensive back. And then Trey Minner, who comes out of South Alabama. He's a running back. He accepted his invite to this bowl game. And Matt Amendola, I don't know if that's any relation to the Amendola we see with the Lions, but he accepted his invitation as well. Yeah, right. So kicker Matt Amendola will be able to showcase his skill set. Many more players will be there. I remember the very last time that I was there in Southern California, I had the ability to interview big game Torrey Holt, as they like to call him, former wide receiver and Hall of Famer for the St. Louis Rams. At least at that time, it was the St. Louis Rams. And we were talking about the game. We were talking about what he liked, from the offense and how he wanted to. And you could always go to my website to listen to some of those interviews as well, in addition to at therudedogshow.com. But just be able to know that these guys will have an opportunity to showcase who they are when other opportunities for showcase and so many other bowls for up-and-coming players to experience. And I know you're going to be in Southern California as well. Are you plan on attending this game?
No, I'll be there from the 6th through the 13th. I wish I could, though. It's something I would like to do. I'll actually be there in Southern California next week for a networking event, the Southern California Sports Broadcasters Awards Luncheon on Tuesday at the where is it? I got it right here. Well, I'm drawing a blank, but over at the Gulfside Country Club or out in Burbank.
Okay, yeah, Burbank's kind of a big place, but yeah, no, there's a lot of great places to have events like that. You have golf course houses and things of that nature, but there's so many different types of places where these guys can really showcase their game and their capabilities and what kind of people they are. And what's really cool about this is that everybody will be able to watch this because the NFL Network decided to pick up the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl through 2024. So that minus 4 years to showcase and really get these guys hopefully noticed and put them on the right platform so other teams throughout the NFL can really take a look as to who they really are. Maybe give them an opportunity somewhere in the draft.
Yeah, I'm always for games like this. I remember years ago, I don't know if you remember it, but they had the seniors playing against the I know they had the Senior Bowl, but the NFL champions used to play All-Star game many years ago. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Probably before my time.
Yeah, probably. That's where the age part comes into play. But no, I knew that there was a little bit of an age situation, but anytime you have an opportunity to showcase talent, to me, I'm all for it. The Senior Bowl has always been one, the East-West Shrine game, the event that you're talking about, you name it. If there's a way for a guy to get game film, more power to him. because you don't know where that hidden gem is going to come from.